and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecci.
Welcome to Dave
and Mecci
Shiny Side Out on WCCR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com. It's home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations in the chat room, and a place to also get your merch. I'm actually changing that now on the fly. This is show number 486.
680 and 400. Who would have thunk it?
That rhymed. You're a poet and you didn't know it. Catch us on air, online, and anywhere on your smart device. Look at me changing the script as we go. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. I still like the way that sounds when you have to say those words. If you missed Solaris's show, it's a pity, because you missed a great show with Kieran Woodhouse. Talk about a new book and some paranormal investigation. I really loved it. It was great to the guy's from England, and you could probably tell it's a great accent. And you know what? If you did miss it, don't worry about it, because you can just subscribe to the archives for roughly $5. I mean, it's Australian a month. It's like a takeaway coffee. Not that you can take away coffee anymore, but anyway, you can, that's a cost of a cup of coffee, or how much is like a Netflix? It's like $20, $14, whatever it is. It's a third of that. Yeah, a month. So it's pretty good, right? It was $15. So you can get access through the archives to Solaris' shows, Shiny Side Out, by the way, just letting you know you can, or all of the other host shows, because they all get archived to the archive server and you can get access to it. It's actually pretty cool. So if you're listening to this on YouTube or in any other platform that we have our media on, and you don't know who it is we talk about when we mention Solaris, it's Solaris Blue Raven, and she has some great material out there.
She's awesome.
She is
awesome.
Awesome. So you can get there's certainly DVD, there's books out there, and there's other material, other shows, and well, look, to be honest, Revolution Radio is honoured to have her, because she's on another network as well. So I don't know where she finds the time to do anything. I don't know where I find the time, or Mecci finds the time to do anything in this world. Certainly.
Hang on. It seems the archives are still free. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. But shh.
Yes. On it.
All right. Donate via Patreon to the station and get access to the archives for free. There you go. If you like anything that we say, please help the station out. All right, there you go. Now, where I live, I live in the region, you might call it, where the Dark and Jong live, and Mecci.
For me, it's the rock people.
Yes, and we recognise and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, and we pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. Straight into the news, Mecci. It's lockdown. It's lockdown season. Rabbit season. Lockdown season.
No, it's lockdown season.
All right, shoot. So yeah, lockdown season again in New South Wales, and it's been some refreshing numbers. If you're a COVID supporter, then the numbers are refreshing again, yet again. And we've seen every single day so far, we've seen an ever-increasing number of infections. So we saw 23, and then another, I think, 24 or something, then 40, then 55, and now 77 community cases.
With 20,000 close contacts.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So I've actually, Mecci, I'm sharing the website. It's the ABC News website, but then I'm going to New South Wales Health, and I'm going to scroll through, and I'm intentionally, and not trying to do this very fast, but here's a list of the transmission venues of concern, and you think, oh, that's okay. and now there's case locations, and this is a really, really long list of anyone who's been to any of these sites within the date and time constraints of their warning. And it's still going, and I'm scrolling fast enough to recognize that the stuff going past, and this number is extraordinary. I know that I've not been to any of them, which is lucky.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just have to say, I nearly, when I took my daughter to the hospital on Thursday for checkups, I nearly stopped in at Carlingford at the Oporto. It's like a chicken burger place. I nearly stopped in there, and that was actually one of the sites. So lucky.
Indeed. Absolutely. It's look, my brother and I, we've avoided a couple of, this was not this lockdown, but last time was a bit of a scare in Sydney. We had been to all of the locations that were listed the day before. No, all of them, literally in the city, right? There's David Jones and a few others. So yeah, the day before. So yeah, it's interesting how all of that works out, right?
Completely. What they've found, Mecci, when they've been looking at the numbers for this current outbreak, is that all of the people who were infected who went home to a household of people, whether they were shared houses or family, infected everybody in the house.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that has come as kind of a shock, because remember all the things we were doing, the hand cleanser? I don't even need that anymore. I'm saying that in jest only. There's a reason for me saying that. And the masks are obviously tremendous, and we really need those. But when you go home, people take the mask off. And since this Delta strain, or worse still, what they've not kind of announced, but they've hinted at that we have a Delta Plus strain, until the genetics come through, I'll just still simply call it Delta. You've let your guard down when you get home, and letting your guard down is really bad. So there's already someone who's now passed away. Granted, the lady was 90, but still susceptible, and I thought we would have had all of those people in those groups already vaccinated, at least to reduce the symptoms, Mecci.
Yeah. No, look. It is a little scary in Sydney, and I get it. But please, everybody, just take a step back, okay? There's, I think, about 5.5-6 million people in Sydney. Yep. Okay. There's now a couple hundred people that are sick, or sorry, I should say infected. Yes. Some are sick. Some are sick. Some are really sick. And one lady in her 90s has died. Yes, these are true statements. But there are roughly 6 million people here in Sydney, and the case fatality rate is still under 3%. Yes. The severe case rate is still in the low double digits, but in the low digits, right? They
say hospitalizations are currently sitting at 10%.
Yeah. So that's low double digits, okay? And even globally speaking, and yes, I know the numbers look scary when you look at them in total, but we have a population of roughly 7.78-ish now. Yep. It's about there, right? Billion, right? And out of the officially, we're just shy of 200 million that are sick across the world. Okay. Now, I'm not saying take it lightly and don't do the things you need to do, but please don't panic either. Fear is not going to get you anywhere, because. Right. I mean, if you take all the precautions, and again, I still maintain that this is not a natural event, but that's me. But you take the precautions, you clean, you wear the mask, etc. So you do all the things that are sensible. If you're a prepared person, then this shouldn't be too hard. I haven't actually stepped out of my house for shopping for a week now. Yep. Didn't have to. When I do go out, probably end of this week, maybe on the weekend or whatever, I'll go for fruit and veg, fresh fruit and veg, and maybe some milk, whatever. But the point here is, please don't panic. I mean, don't live in fear. This is still a disease that is, yes, look, it's not nice to have, absolutely not, but the fatality rate is low. The only reason so many people have died is because so many people are infected. And of course, the more people are infected and the higher the infectiousness of these various strains, the more people will die. That's unfortunately math for you. But the chances of you getting really, really sick or you're dying are relatively low. So yes, we need to take precautions, because if you don't take precautions, the chances that you get sick rise dramatically. Okay, so precautions are necessary. You don't want to wear a mask? Well, it's up to you. But I level with you. I wear a mask when I go out.
Me too.
I do. In fact, today I went out to exercise and I loaded up my weights vest. My vest weighs 20 kilos. And
yeah, that's what you've been doing recently, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I strap 2.5 kilo wrist weights on, ankle weights, etc., etc. I've got a few layers of clothing because it's cold, and then I wear my mask. Today I wore a double mask. It's not easy, and when there was no one around, I lifted my mask so I could breathe. But I do that because there are a lot of people depending on me, and a lot of people that are, in a fairly frail state of health in my family. Even though we haven't got any contact right now, face to face, because of the lockdown, I'm not going to, put myself in harm's way and thereby put other people in harm's way. It's a thing, right? It is a thing, this thing, and it is out there. I still maintain it's not out there by accident. That's my opinion only. Right? Not the stations, not Dave's necessarily. My opinion is that this is not an accidental thing. And so do take the precautions. But please don't eat yourself up with fear and panic.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to make it. I'll round out that point for you as well. You say it so well, and it's really important that people don't panic. If you have a plan, there's no need for panic. So if you have a plan for an evacuation of a building and you practice it and you know it, off by heart, you don't have to think about it. You can just do it. Then when the thing happens that allows you to have to enact it, or forces you to do that, then you don't have panic. You just have a do. And the do gets you through, and you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I'm a poet too. So
you are.
Yeah, and look, this is why astronauts practice. They practice every problem that could possibly happen, and cascade errors where one problem leads to another problem, and that leads to another. Just in case they actually have to go through those things, they already know what to do. There isn't any thought process that's required in being able to act your way through it. Anyway, so taking that idea and certainly not winning the Segway champion of the world, as one of my friends did today on the phone with me. There's no doubt that the Delta strain is more transmissible. It's probably the most so far. We haven't had any, the numbers and the discussions from the medical fraternity is that this is 110% more transmissible than the original one. However, I still have to call that into question. We did have a lot of people getting infected by it when it wasn't simply just a surface contact and breathing in someone's spit as micro droplets from a sneeze. Now it's simply exhaled without micro droplets. It's in the humidity of your breath, which is really important.
Which really means it's airborne. That's what it means.
That's right? What that means. That's right. Remember, they denied that throughout all of it up until the Delta. Until they had video footage showing it.
Yes.
All right. Other people were in the same vicinity of someone in the past and was able to contract the virus. Anyway, all changed. So, knowing how transmissible it is, but combined that with the poor tracing. Now, in New South Wales, we've got some pretty darn good tracing. But what I mean by poor tracing is people's lack of logging in. So we have QR codes at this is for the whole world to listen to this. We have QR codes at every, a retail outlet and place to visit. And you book in, you say basically saying, I've attended this place, and when you do it, it's now. And it automatically logs you out when you log into a new one, or it times out after a certain amount of time. People weren't doing that so much. And when they said I see you didn't use your QR code when you were out and about. Oh, I forgot my phone. right? Lie, because they had the phone. And then they go, so where did you go? And they didn't really kind of give them accurate information. That's the poor tracing. Not our tracers using all the data that's been collected to accurately plot everything automatically. No, this is all part of the manual process. So combine that also with apathy. There's a whole bunch of people that don't even care. Whatever, right? People out there, I don't need to wear a mask, some people say. I'm going to go exercising with 10 people, for instance, for no reason whatsoever. I want to just keep maintaining the things that I did. There was an old guy down the local shop that had the mask under his chin from ear to ear. He thought that was adequate. He was wearing it. And the lady in front of me at the checkout, she didn't even have a mask at all.
I've got a mask in my pocket, young man.
I'm wearing it. Know. It's on my person.
I wear it like a bra.
Oh, there's some imagery I didn't need.
Oh, no. You can't unsee that mental image.
No, you can't. That's there now. Burnt into my retinas, into my mind. Oh, my God. I'm going to wake up bolt upright in the middle of the night screaming, having seen that again. All right.
Oh, again.
Again, yes. Okay, so moving on. So the other component that I think is also making this a more complex issue, in New South Wales, or Australia, we've always given ourselves a little pat in the back for being such a multicultural place. We've invited people and welcomed people from all around the world, and we all live kind of in harmony, right? I say kind of. You take that how you want. But what we've got is a lot of multi-generational housing in areas where it's English may not even be the second language. It could be the third. Yeah. Or not spoken at all. Only the young people will speak the language and relay that to the grandparents in some way. All right, because when I was growing up, there was some Italians like that, oddly, and some Greeks, and then there was some Chinese like that, and we know some Vietnamese and some other. Look, it's a plethora of different cultures here in Australia, but that's kind of not working very well with the messaging coming from the government in free-to-air television. But Grandma, you've got to wear the mask when you go out. And her retort in some language is, I really don't care what you're talking about. I'm just going to go out. I've done it all my life. Walk down the local shop.
The problem in Australia as well, the problem, I mean, it's just a situation. It's not a problem, it's just what it is. A lot of the communities that have come here over the years, they tend to stick to themselves. My mother had a friend.
They find a pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. My mother had a friend who lived here for, I don't know, almost 50 years, and she never learned English properly, right? And other people are the same. It's not an Asian thing. It's not a European thing. It's an immigrant thing. So
that's correct.
All immigrant communities in Australia that I've found here in Sydney, especially, they form these little enclaves, and like little suburbs, or several suburbs together, and that's just what it is. And it is a challenge. It is a challenge to get the message out. It's a bigger challenge yet to instill a level of confidence and belief, if you will, into the authorities, both local and state government, certainly federal government, and the police. So it's a really interesting challenge that we have here, and it's not going to go away.
You can't run around locking up little old ladies, right, or tackling them to the ground.
We can't just weld them into their little houses.
Well, there's a comment. Which I'm not touching.
Elsewhere. No, like they did elsewhere. No, people were welded into their blocks.
They were.
Okay, then we can't do that. Obviously, we can't do it. And what happened in Melbourne, where they pretty much locked down an apartment complex.
That's correct.
For I guess these are people that are less well off. Immigrants mostly, and that drew a massive wave of protest and criticism.
And plus, the virus spread without the entire building.
Yes, so it's pointless. But I don't think we're going to see that kind of lockdown again, unless whatever, the epsilon, or not, let's call it the omega variant of this virus, which, well, look, we're getting down the great
We're
virus.
already at L. We're at lambda already.
I know we don't want to get to omega, trust me. But it's...
I think the person had an out-of-body experience writing that.
I know, right? And and once we get to omega, and maybe, it becomes even more infectious and more deadly, and all these wonderful things. But if we do get there, then we have other issues than staying at home. Okay.
So the mixed messages coming from the government, I think, was another component of this, which I played the timeline again, Mackie, and I discovered something really interesting. So at the same time as the new spike in numbers started to occur in the eastern suburbs, the federal government, not the state government, but the federals, released a paper on living with COVID. It was a really far to the future, horizon view of what it might look like if we were to, be able to, be all vaccinated and have. It spoke of no masks, of no lockdowns, and open borders again. But we'd all have to be vaccinated annually. That was the paper that the government released.
Yeah, I look, and I've been expecting this now, since the beginning, pretty much. And like the flu, look, the flu kills people every year. Make no mistake. And millions and millions and millions of people get sick with the flu every year. The reason we haven't seen anything like this in response to the flu is because we know the flu. We've got a vaccine for the flu. We've got a seasonal vaccine for whatever variant of the flu is coming our way. And the way that COVID is going to, I guess, evolve...
It's just going to be the same.
It'll be the same. And creating another hundreds of billions of dollars worth of business in the vaccine administration, production, etc.
Well, it's for eternity.
It is, until that's, pretty much.
That's it. So
this is it now.
That's right. And so, look, the correlation between the lax attitude towards this new spike in the eastern suburbs, I'm not attributing to it just because the people are from the eastern suburbs, but more so the mixed messaging that came about at the time of both of these things being in the media. It's very hard to focus on a particular message when you're hearing a lot of them in conjunction. So I want to be nice to the people of the eastern suburbs and say, I get you, right? I really get it. You're a beach community. You're east of the city. It's kind of a little insular. Usually you're filled with, backpackers from England. Yeah, but not this time. Yeah. They're free of all of that burden, and we're out there exercising and enjoying the beach without masks on. Yeah. So, and masks weren't mandatory in that initial messaging from the government, and it got out of control real quick. Not blaming the state government, and they've got enough to deal with. And don't think that I'm going soft. I'm maybe a little less harsh than I might be normally, but I'll get to that in a minute. So it's got to be reiterated that the government's long view was just that. It was something. Okay, well, how do we go about positioning ourselves and knowing what we have to achieve when we get there? And I think that's been actually really hard. So I'm gonna put the call out. I spoke about this with my partner, and my partner said that we're just going to be another 6 weeks from today. And I said, oh, that's what, a total of 8. I said, no, I'm going to call the end of the school quarter. So that's what, 3 months. That's what I reckon. Mecci, do you have an idea, a guesstimate?
Yeah, I've been right so far on pretty much all of it. So I'm more with Dave on this one, because there are 20,000 close contacts. We have got 10% of the population vaccinated, and we have people in ICU, including a teenager. We will not send our kids to school for the term, I don't think.
Exactly, we're not going to, even if they release it for a while.
Yeah, because it's apparent that, so initially I listened to a couple of sound bites. Every day we get a briefing here in Sydney from the chief scientist, chief medical, blah blah, whatever.
Yep.
But the sound bites that I picked up on were this. Initially we didn't think that kids would get sick or could spread the disease, etc. Now, look, kids don't get as sick, the really young ones, which is great, but they do get infectious, so they get infected, then become infectious, and they can spread it. And with this one, the Delta Plus, whatever comes after, the Lambda, and anyway. But the point is that it will come from the schools. If we let our kids go back to school, because it is such an infectious kind of thing.
It's a 30-to-1 infection rate.
Bingo, right? And you only have to pass someone in the corridor. We know this now. We know for a fact. We've got empirical evidence for that, right?
That's right.
And that's why I say it's airborne. So no, I think I think the school term we will see our kids over 3 months. I will say 3 months. I would also say that restrictions, like really tough restrictions, won't go for the whole 3 months. There'll be a loosening depending on the numbers.
And I think we're going to get through a big tightening soon.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, I think we have a radius of 10 kilometres that we can travel outside of our house. One person in the family is only allowed out once per day for the briefest amount of time possible.
Mm-hmm. And I think we will see that radius to drop significantly, I believe.
Yeah, I think at least 2 Ks or something.
Yeah, within your home. Now, again, here we're lucky. I mean, I chose this locale. Well, this location was chosen for various reasons, and one of them is it's the proximity to the necessities of life, and even down to the basic necessities of life. So where I am, I'm in a pretty good spot. I know Dave is in a pretty good spot. Mm-hmm. People in apartment blocks in the city, they're not in as good a spot. Other places as well, I mean,
I couldn't imagine right now being locked up in an apartment in the city.
Yeah, that would be not ideal in many ways, right? So look,
I have workmates, Mecci, that are living in a single bedroom apartment, and it's the last lockdown was pretty hard. Yeah.
Look, and, do we? What do you do, right? I mean, it is what it is, and having said that, it'll get better, and vaccinations are proceeding at pace, I guess. I mean, if you want to get vaccinated, go ahead, do it. And full disclosure here for everybody, I am getting vaccinated.
Yep.
With the Pfizer vaccine next Saturday. So if I'm not here next Sunday, if I'm not here next Sunday, then something went south and sideways, right?
I understand.
I had no. I really no longer have a choice for various reasons. But to go ahead and do it, I did the research. I looked at it. I looked at the total numbers.
It's been my vaccine of choice.
Yeah, and if something goes sideways, then so be it.
Yeah.
But it's the one that provides the most protection for the people that need it, and I know people that need it.
And remember, this was also the same vaccine that was preferred by the federal government for frontline workers and military and the critical services.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. And they would only be reserving that for themselves, and now they have a plan or a program to bring that out. So, that's good news, Mecci. Well done.
But I will I will monitor myself.
Oh yeah.
Let you all know. Okay?
No doubt. I can imagine you with a live stream. So
yeah. So but again, you can take me as I'm in my 50s. I'm relatively healthy, etc., no underlying conditions, whatnot, right? And if something does go south, then if something goes wrong with me, then something could go wrong with anyone.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I have nothing that's chronic at all.
Yeah, I get you. So, I think we've covered that off pretty well. What I was going to say, Mecci, was Fiji has gone absolutely nuts with its numbers. It's gone up 7,000 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
From 2,000 to 9,500. And I'm looking at, I've got the graph on the screen, and it's absolutely crazy. Because I type the numbers in all the time, Nobody says you have sold out, Mecci. You've joined the New World Order. It's hilarious.
Clearly.
Clearly. Yeah.
Novo Ordo Seclorum. Novo Ordo Seclorum. What? Yeah.
So
no.
So there's very few countries, Mecci, who are actually on the case rise. Russia is. It's nearly peaking greater than its prior peak at 30,000 a day. It's 25,000 per day new cases. But the deaths from 600, it's at like 780 now a day. It's at its highest death rate that it's had since it started, since the virus started. But most other countries, United Kingdom, once again, daily cases right up, deaths are down.
Yep.
And they're attributing that to the vaccine in the media, certainly. I'm just looking for, there was another one that jumped out at me. Spain's cases are up, and deaths are flat. So, look, I think there's got to be some good words around that, and I want to put that one to bed. But I really want to bring something up, and it's been killing me for a week, and I titled this one "Free Speech," whatever that really means, and what is it, and what does it mean, Mecci?
Well, what it is, right, or what we think it is, rather, is, we can say whatever we like. Like, you can well, Scott Morrison is a shape-shifting reptilian from the law of fourth dimension, if you wanted to, a blood drinking. In fact, David Icke says that about the British royal family, and they have never ever taken him to court over that. Interesting, right?
Because they'd have to prove they weren't.
But look, your free speech should mean that you can do whatever you want, but it doesn't, in my opinion at least, but it doesn't include as hate speech. Okay, so you should not be allowed to actively hate on people, especially when there's an agenda of actual physical harm, or you're encouraging actual physical harm. That's where free speech ends. Right? Everybody has the right to their opinion, 100%, right? But if that opinion hurts or harms others, then we have to ask ourselves, well, is this really what we want? And it's okay to disagree. We can agree to disagree. It's awesome. That's fine. Why not? It's a good thing. Now, in China, you see the opposite of that. You can't say anything. And in North Korea, you can't say anything. And if you say something against the government, in Thailand, if you say something against the king, they can throw you away forever. They can lock you up and throw the key away forever. It's lege magistralis, which means like a insult of the royal house, is completely unacceptable. However, as Noam Chomsky said, you can say whatever you want, discuss anything you like, as long as you do it with the confines of a predefined box. And that's what it actually is. Okay, so we can't actually say anything you want, and Dave will tell you in a second why he's so upset about it, and I'm upset about it too, but no, you can't say anything you want, even if your speech doesn't harm anyone, even if there's no active harm, even if you didn't actually say it. You ask the authorities that sends it to you for proof, right? And they go, oh, no. And you look at it, you look at what you said, and there's still nothing there that would have required censorship. But
that's right.
As long as you stay within the box, you can discuss anything you want. As soon as you leave the box, there are consequences.
Yeah. I want to put this out there, that we've got a place in Hyde Park amongst the Moreton Bay fig trees, Trini, far out, Mecci, and it's in Sydney, and it was established in 1878 was when Pastor Allen, a Baptist social reformer, took his platform at this location on a soapbox after the government closed Hyde Park as a venue for public speaking in 1874. So 4 years prior to 1878, the government said, no, you can't do free speech here. And he set up his thing, his soapbox, and stood there, and it was amongst a rather large crowd, and that continued, and it's still a thing today that there's a place in Hyde Park where you can actually do this. Stand in a soapbox and just yell whatever you want, and people can sit around and listen, or they can just walk on by. Yeah, that is pretty much true free speech, as long as it doesn't harm anyone or incite violence or cause harm. Right? I said that twice. You should be clearly an educated person who's willing to try to allow people to hear your point of view. That's I think the most important part. All right, but what is the world like today? Because we, Shiny Side Out, we found one of those, the strong arm of YouTube last week, and since we've looked into this, we've found that there's a third-party company that exists, and it enacts the rules given to it as a mandate. Now, it does this on the social media platforms. I know YouTube and Twitter use it, and there's also an arm of it which China uses to control, or actually has complete control over, its social media. And it seems that it seems that because social media giants are global, that they're untouchable as social media platforms, as long as they remain private. Yeah? So I've got a question. Is the world's social media creating a new world order that is socialist? That's a good question, isn't it?
I think by its very okay. So the answer is, I think, unequivocally yes.
That's right.
Because social media, well, I think we always harp on the social component being, your peer group, etc. It is a social tool that is being used, and social in the sense of even socialism, where societies can use tools like this to mete out judgment or rate you or do whatever, but it's immediately accessible. It's a populist and popular tool, right? And we've seen what it can do in the hands of some. Mm-hmm. And I would say that social media is absolutely socialist. You could even go as far as saying a communist tool, because the thing is this, Dave, right? For the longest time, for hundreds of years, and communism probably for 100 years or so, mm-hmm. has been trying to control people. We've been trying to control people, right?
And all the governments do it through media and advertising, yeah. Bingo,
right? But now people have willingly submitted to the control of these things. Mm-hmm. We give our information out freely. We are addicted to responses on little square glass tablets.
Yes.
And they're actually psychological disorders associated with Facebook, Twitter, etc. device withdrawal. Mm-hmm. Because it offers you something that we as human beings, as social animals, crave, which is acceptance and validation and recognition and inclusion in a peer group. We all want these things. That's why bullying works. If we didn't care, bullying wouldn't work. Bullying wouldn't do anything to anyone. Mm-hmm. But because we are fragile and we are social and we need acceptance, it works. So what do? We are hanging on the lips of the social media influencers, right? Mm-hmm. People that are unwrapping presents. People
Disney boxes. Yeah.
I don't even know why these people exist, but there they are. And I can see this tool being used. And look, and we see it in China now, where people can give each other a sort of like a score, like a credit rating.
It's a social rating, yes.
Right, yeah. So and then there was an episode on the Orville, which is sort of like a Star Trek.
Oh yes, I love that one.
Right, it's the most Star Trek show out there at the moment.
That isn't Star Trek.
Bingo. Even though all of the old Star Trek actors are making cameos on it. Now,
because it's gold, that's why.
It is gold. They go to a planet, and the planet is run by social media. And everybody gets a social score, and if people like you, you get really high scores, and it's really good for you. But if you get low scores, like people don't like you, and you get a score low enough, and I can't remember what
they
the
kill
score
you.
was. They kill you. You
That's right.
You're executed because people, the society, it's like Survivor. You're voted off the island.
Yeah, that's right. But when you're voted off the island, imagine you just don't exist anymore.
No, they kill you
Yeah.
in that TV show.
In that TV show, yeah.
Yeah, but having said that, right? I mean, is it really this far removed? No, but wait a second. Hear me out. Let's say you're on the platform and you're born into it, right? So you're on the social media platforms and you get your ratings. Everybody has their scores. And this is your life. This is who you are, right? This is your society. And let's say for some reason, you get really low scores, and it's already happening today.
Or you just upset your local peer group.
Sure.
And they start rating you down, and it starts to go south on you.
Yeah, and today it is happening to some kids, but sometimes older people as well. They're driven to suicide. People are driven without having been touched or even physically, confronted by anyone.
That's right.
This is a virtual driving of people to suicide. I find this astounding because I'll be honest with you, I don't care what people think. Ultimately, about
when you hit 50, it's kind of a natural thing.
No, but I never really did.
I know, Mickey. Yeah.
You know me. You know what I was like.
I know.
Before, and I will just say whatever, and people are interested in hearing it. They don't want to think about it, though. That's the thing, right? But I find it very hard to understand why people care. But I get why. I get it. I mean, on an intellectual level, I understand why people have this need to belong. I never belong to anything, so maybe that's why. But this is a danger, Dave. So is it a socialist tool, to answer your question? 100%.
100%. Yeah. So I'm glad you answered that, because I think the new socialist media. Yeah, do you like how I've done that?
I like it.
Plus the socialist controls on that social media, and then a police force willing to perform duties that are beyond their actual reach. Say, enacted controls dictated to the police by a leader, could be a dictator, could be, doesn't have to be. If we separate the planet into the Eastern countries and the Western countries, for instance, in the West's case, using flimsy temporary changes to laws as COVID controls that are being tested in high courts right now as infringements upon your civil rights, is actually happening in Australia. There's no determination yet. I think it'll take them 10 years, Mecci, to wait for the virus to go away and then they'll come out with it. Oh yeah, that was probably wrong that we welded you in. No, sorry, locked you in your houses for a certain amount of time. But I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that they're currently being challenged. This new media being untouchable. The social media is the new media. 90% of people, they did a study and found that people had moved away from watching television media to only watching social media about the news. Yep. They get the news stories from social media. So if you're basically turned off, deplatformed for speaking out, where established way back in 1874 and re-emerged 4 years later when it was disabled, right, by the police, free speech began. But now social media is now a global free media platform that we're the products of. We're the actual product. It's free. It's delivered free to us.
But this is where it gets really dangerous. And you're right. You said global. It's a global product. Now, having said that, though, because it is now, before free speech was a person on the speaker's corner in Hyde Park, or maybe a newspaper columnist, or someone who wrote a book they shouldn't have, or whatever. But they were point instances, and they were impossible to control because you can try, but you can't control individuals on that level because you don't know where they pop up or what they're going to say or what's going to get published or whatever. Right now,
it's
and this is what
100% monitored.
And Dave will tell you, it's 100%. Not only that, now Dave and I are going. We are going to apply self-censorship. right? Now we've already started with 1012, right? So any video that we had that mentioned 1012, it's code for something else, by the way.
That's right.
Was demonetized by YouTube when we were still monetized.
That's right.
Okay, and now, but I'm going to let Dave tell you the story. And now something else happened, and so you go into a self-censorship mode. And the Chinese media, the official media, they've been in that for years. Even in the so-called free world, we have been in self-censorship mode for a long time.
If there was a race to win, they won it.
They won it. But there are certain stories which simply aren't picked up by anyone. They're just not picked up. Full stop. No one goes down that road because, well, first of all, you have to find someone to publish it for you, and then secondly, then you have to live through publishing it, right? So it's not going to happen. The self-censorship is real. And now with this in Twitter and Facebook and TikTok and whatever else these things are called, the control is almost immediate. Because all of these little bots out there, these AI scripts that are scanning content, etc., etc., they can censor you on the spot and remove you on the spot if there's something in your content that makes the rules. And this is really the critical part here. That someone that makes the rules didn't like.
That's right. So I got a friend of mine, Tammy, who said that she just got a warning that one of her posts on Facebook was removed from 2015. Just the other day.
Yeah.
Because they had a bot go back in time and have a look and go, oh, hang on a minute. You can't say that. Well, you can't have said that? Wow. That's like making a brand new law tomorrow and then arresting everyone who'd done it. Sorry, Mickey, I talked over you.
No, sorry. No, we need a whole new language, Dave. Because you just tried to express something in the sense of censorship, right? You just said something that they should not have had said. What?
That's right.
It needs a new language. Sorry, go on, man.
I know, it's crazy. I had to wrap my head around it. It's like watching like a time traveling movie where they do multiple time jumps backward and forward in time, and I'm trying to keep up with what the timeline should be. Oh no, like Captain Janeway in one of the episodes where she goes, oh, it just gives me a headache when I think about it. I love that quote. All right, so why do I talk about free speech? Well, last week's second hour of our show about fiat currency and fractional reserve lending was taken down by YouTube. Thank you for that. They offered an appeal service. The reason why they took it down was they said that we'd provided medical information which contradicted with the messaging coming from the WHO. We checked it, couldn't find anything that was in the radio show that mentioned anything about. We didn't even mention the virus or anything. We didn't mention masks. We didn't mention nothing at all. And so I requested the proof as a timestamp so I could delete the section in case there was something wrong. And I was given no such reply. In fact, what they did say was your appeal was denied, with no supporting information at all. So I equate the action undertaken by YouTube in this instance to be similar to this example, and I'll give you an example. If a police officer took your car from you, saying that you committed offence, but then without providing any proof of what, when, how, who, or even where it took place. Right? In our societies, we would have recourse. We'd be able to, of course, in a court of law, you're entitled to your day in court, and it would all be dismissed because the judge would go, "Well, can you prove what they'd done?" And they go, "What? Appeal denied." No, they just go, if you can't provide the proof, there's no case. You have no case. So I asked the same questions, and I received from YouTube zero assistance. And I've also subsequently listened to the entire show. There's not a thing in it, and I reposted that second hour, and it's now available on YouTube. And thankfully to the archives at the station, I was able to recover that second hour because my live stream straight to YouTube was made unavailable to me to even download.
Oh.
However, this is the problem. the mark still exists on our account and cannot be removed. And you can't contact anyone because there isn't anyone. Yeah. And I thought if it was an AI, that I'd certainly not be on the top of the list.
Oh, buddy, you're on the list.
I'm clearly I don't want to be the first to the wall when the revolution comes, as far as the AI is concerned. So I love AI, right?
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
I said it first.
So I truly see why the social media platforms need to be reformed. I don't mean created again. I mean reformed as in changed and officially made to be publishers, because that's their argument. They say, we're not publishers. But what does the actual publisher do? Simply due to the point that they clearly decide what goes to air or print, as in, TV and print media. That's how they operate, right? And that makes them publishers. So both social media and newslet outlets decide, vet, and cleanse what is made public, and therefore they are publishers. And this has to happen for us to be able to take some recourse. But in was it Florida? They've passed a bill to allow you to sue the tech giants if they deplatform you.
Now,
that'll be punitive.
As soon as you make content decisions,
yes,
you're an editor.
That's right.
Okay, and that means you're not publishing. You're no longer just making a platform available for people to do their own thing. No, you're deciding the content, which means you're editing and you're publishing. So I'm sorry, but as soon as you, do anything to alter, edit, change, allow or disallow content,
yep,
you're no longer providing just a platform.
That's right. And they can't put their hands in the air and say they're not involved in it at all, right? So look, here's a novel idea. Maybe the video should stay private, because they could just flag it to private. No one can see it. And therefore, if no one can see it, no one can get access to it, it's effectively offline. And they offer you a chance to be able to change it or modify it in such a way where it is then able to be turned public again. And then you don't get the strike on your channel, because you only get 3 strikes and they delete your channel.
Yeah.
That's the end of that. So I think that's kind of really bad. And look, I know that's kind of still not free speech, that if they're asking us to be able to make something available to others, that we need to adhere to a certain set of guidelines, because I want to be careful here and suggest that there's some information that may not be accepted yet by the WHO, but still needs discussion in the public. And this is brand new research that's currently going on by actual scientists and medical professions. And if that information isn't in an open forum, then I'm not sure how we progress as a society. I think what it's really doing is just putting the cookie cutter onto everything and saying this is all you're allowed to talk about. Therefore, it substantiates my socialist media, label on social media, because it's a truly controlling concept, and it's where we are now. We never thought we got here without kicking and screaming, Mackie.
Well, there's the music. Some of us have kicked, some of us have screamed, but usually at the speaker's corner, where no one was listening. Don't go away, anyone. We're coming back with the second hour and the final installment of the parasites and fiat currency, everybody. Okay,
honk if you think I'm Jesus. That's the sign I've got to wear now.
Meep, meep.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you on the other side of this.